What was the point where you decided to change your life?
For me, I was 20 years old. I was over 400 pounds, and I said enough was enough. And I think all the things that doctors had warned me about were finally starting to happen to myself. I had developed sleep apnea. I developed edema, which was a fluid buildup in my ankles and my wrists. I just couldn't. My body was literally starting to shut down on itself. And I think I finally said, enough is enough. I'm sick and tired of this. And for years I knew I needed to change, but it was a matter of coming to grips with it and saying, okay, what am I going to do here? And realizing it wasn't going to happen overnight. It's going to be a long-term process, obviously. And started trying all kinds of ways to lose weight. I could never stick to anything, and lo and behold, stumbled upon the idea to eat Subway sandwiches twice a day with a low-fat menu, and did one for lunch, one for dinner, and before I knew it, the weight was coming off.
And are you finding that the kids are receptive to this message? Are they getting it?
Oh, I think so. I think, when I ask all the kids, I try to engage with them and say, hey, who here likes to play video games? Who likes to go on the internet? Who likes to go watch TV? Who likes to eat junk food? And, all their hands shoot up at each question pretty much. And then I go back and say, well, it's nice you guys all said that, because the 4 biggest contributors, I think, to me putting all the weight on in the first place was, watching way too much TV, going on the internet way too often, playing way too many video games, and eating way too much junk food. And, I explained how I went from making good, healthy decisions to being in 3rd or 4th grade, all of a sudden, very quickly, just living a very sedentary lifestyle, and wound up just eating way too many calories. And before I knew it was out of control, and just didn't look back. And I talked to them how bad my life had gotten, all the things I couldn't do anymore because I was so heavy, and hopefully just trying to say, wow, get them to think if I don't make smart decisions, this could happen to me too. Mm-hmm. When I'm in the schools, my goal is to keep the kids accountable as possible, I think, and that's an important thing. I think, yes, parents play a role, school plays a role, doctors play, everybody plays a role, but bottom line is that child still has to make their own decisions. Whether they're in 2nd grade or 12th grade, as they get older, they continue to make more and more of their own decisions. They have to be held accountable, and I think even at a young age, and this day and age, kids are smarter than they ever have been. They have access to more information, like the internet, to find things out, and to they want to look good, they want to feel good. Now it's about of trying to empower them to make those good decisions. And my goal with going to these schools, especially elementary schools, is to just be more proactive, realizing, when I'm in an audience, there's only a handful of kids that are usually, hopefully none that are truly obese at that point, but only, a handful that are overweight. Well, let's try to make sure we keep those kids who are not overweight yet on that proper path so they don't become overweight. And the kids who already are on the wrong path, well, it's just a few simple things can change, and they can be right back to being a healthy weight again.
So what are those few simple things? Like, what are the tips that you actually give them?
My thing, moderation is my biggest thing. Just talking to them that they don't have to give up the video games, they don't have to give up the junk food, they don't have to give up, the internet, obviously, everything like that. But they've got to do less of it, and they've got to couple that with more of the healthy things. Whether it's eating their fruits and vegetables, drinking more water as opposed to all the regular soda, making sure they get enough exercise. Even I say just 30 minutes a day. What a major difference that can make. We do some demonstration activities and things they can do. If they're watching TV at home, which we know they're going to watch anyway, during commercial breaks, if I told them for a 30-minute show, there's probably 6 or 7 minutes of commercials. If you just take those 6 or 7 minutes and do some simple exercises during each of those commercial breaks, it's amazing over a day, over a week, over a month, how much exercise that can actually equal. Things like jumping in place, jumping rope, but all the little things they can do that are pretty easy, don't take a lot of resources to do, and just try to encourage them that, hey, it's the small things that make a big difference.
So the Idaho chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics says that roughly 50% of Idaho kids are overweight. Mm-hmm. So what would you say to a child who is really starting to struggle with their weight?
Well, I think first of all, the kids who are struggling with their weight know they're struggling with their weight. There's nothing worse than being heavy in life, but it's even worse to be a child, I think, who's overweight, just because they're dealing with their peers, their friends, they're in a period of growth and mentally, emotionally, and it's just, when you couple being heavy with all that, it just can be really, really tough. So what I try to tell kids is that there's never going to be a better time in your life than the moment right now to start making a few simple changes. Most of these kids do not need to make drastic changes. Most of it is just simply stepping away from the TV a little bit more, stepping away from the computer, thinking about what they're putting in their body a little bit more, making an active decision, or conscious decision to eat more fruits and vegetables, to drink more water, low-fat milk. Those, when they have a choice of a snack after school, if they're going to have lunch with their friends on the weekend, those are all things that these kids can definitely play a role in when they're picking their school lunch at school, trying to make good choices there too. And, hopefully, once again, we can really change this problem, but we've got to they've got to want to do it, and that's sort of the first step. And that's why I hope that learning through my story, they can say, wow, if I don't make those good decisions, I really could wind up in Jared's little pair of pants, and we don't want that. So.
And what would you say was your biggest struggle in maintaining your weight loss and then sustaining it afterwards?
It's brutal. I always say, losing weight was phase 1, but phase 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is continuing to keep it off, realizing it's never going to be easy. And I always say, until they make a day where a carrot stick tastes just as good as a mozzarella cheese stick, I'm going to have to fight it, and it doesn't taste as good. So, it is what it is, and it's just a matter of moderation, just like everything else. I try to plan my weeks out. I'm on the road a lot now with Subway, so I try to know when I'm going to go out to dinner, so I can eat light throughout the day, so I can have more at dinner, so to speak. Just those kinds of things. I'm picking my battles. I still drink diet soft drinks, still drink a lot of water. All these kinds of things really help keep it off, and realizing that there's going to be times of the year where I may put a few pounds on, and I'm only human. I don't worry about it too much. I just sort of nip it in the bud and try to get it back off again, and start eating a lot more Subway. Actually, I'm usually a big help with it, but it's going to be a growing pains process my whole life. And unfortunately, as every 5 years goes by, every 10 years goes by, metabolism slows down a little bit more. Situations, I say, in life change, family life changes, job changes, all these different changes, and if you don't change with it, you're liable to put the weight back on.
Okay. What's your favorite Subway sandwich?
Favorite Subway sandwich now would be the sweet onion chicken teriyaki. I know one of the ladies up front here, that's her favorite too. But yeah, sweet onion chicken teriyaki, and then the Subway Club is probably my second favorite sandwich. So good choices.
So is being a Subway spokesperson, ad person, is it a full-time job for you?
It is. I travel almost 200 days a year with Subway all over the world, so it's definitely full-time and then some. And knock on wood, it's been going on for 13 years, and I think people still relate to it, which is great. And if I can do it, they can do it, kind of thing. So.
And so, do you get free Subway sandwiches?
I hope so. I haven't had to pay for one personally in quite a few years, but I'm still waiting for my Subway for Life card. We'll see. I don't know about that, but it's been a nice thing. And I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, and the guys who own the Subways around me are like, your money's no good here. So I'm like, okay, if you insist.
Do people recognize you if you go to that one right here down the street here in Tampa?
They recognize me if I'm in the Subway here. They recognize me if I'm in a hotel. I'm recognized pretty much no matter where I go these days, and it's part of the things I've had to deal with is loss of privacy. Just realizing that as soon as I leave my house, as soon as I leave my car, you have to deal with being on. It's just part of life, and
took us 10 minutes to get him out of Starbucks.
Everybody
they're all excited. So it just depends. Sometimes nobody does. It just really depends on where I'm at. Sometimes people get crazy. Sometimes I can get through an airport and with no problem at all, and nobody even barely recognizes me, and that's fine too. So you never know. So.
How do you feel about your name being changed to the Subway Guy?
It is sort of weird, it's like Jared's my first name, From is my middle name, and Subway is my last name now. So it's become a part of it, I guess. It is sort of surreal, but as I said, who would have thunk any of this would have happened? It still blows me away. So. The fact that it's a positive story, people relate to it, and whatever.
It was really
I'll take it.
Cute this morning. We were walking up to the little elementary school in Middleton, and these little kids were jogging by, and this little voice says, "Hey, look at the Subway dude!" And we just jogged right on by.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to say, do they still know who you are?
Oh, yeah.
I remember those commercials. Yeah. I'm like, I know who the Subway guy is, but
well, they still run. They just don't run as frequently. So
okay.
We're still doing them, and so the powers to be at Subway are the ones that decide when those air. So.
Okay.
But they've been very cautious to not air them too much where they, people get sick of it, but at the same time try not to read too little either where people forget about them. So it's just sort of in between there.
Okay. And what would you say, there's a lot of bad diets out there and who diet pills and all these things. What do you caution people about those? Or
I think first of all you need to talk to a doctor, you need to talk to a dietitian if you possibly can, because there are a lot of ways to lose weight, some of them healthy, some not so healthy, and also everyone's body's different. What works for one person really well may not work for somebody else, and I'm the first person to say the way I lost my weight was fairly extreme. I don't expect most people to go eat Subway twice a day every single day for a year. That's probably not going to happen so much, but I think more in moderation, this diet can be applied to a lot of people. I think instead of the burgers and french fries and the pizzas and the fried chicken and the tacos and burritos that people tend to eat at fast food restaurants, when you are going to have fast food anyway, to do one of the low-fat Subway sandwiches can be, as an alternative, can work out quite well. But you got to be careful, and you got to talk to a doctor, you got to talk to a dietitian, you got to monitor your body, and know what's, only you know what's really going to work best for yourself, and only your body can tell you that once you get into it. So, but you got to want to do it. Like anything else, it's not easy. It's losing weight is brutal. It's not fun. We're Americans. We want to have our cake and eat it too. Usually a lot of cake. So this is what we do. It's just our way of life these days, and we're very fortunate. We have an abundance of food in our country, and we're the only country in the world where it's sort of an inverse relationship with food. It's in most countries, if you're the poorer citizens are the ones who are starving. In our country, they're the ones who tend to be obese, and it's definitely an issue that we have to address there as well. But as I said, it's not something that's going to change overnight either. We have a lot of it's just taken several decades to happen and to get us to this point, and we have to realize it's going to take a true societal change, I think, to make this change for the better. But it can be done, and we got to start somewhere. So.